Contention 1. California's prison systems are on the brink of destruction. Subpoint A. California's prisons are overcrowded. Don Thompson, reporter for the Huffington Post. Huffington Post, published May 23, 2011, Access November 5, 2013. The growth in the prison population in the nation's most populous state can be attributed in part of year's Get Tough sentencing law, including a 3 strikes law that sends repeat offenders to prison for life. As of May 11th, there were roughly 143,000 inmates in a 33 adult prison system designed to hold 80,000. At the peak of overcrowding in 2006, nearly 20,000 inmates were living in makeshift housing in gymnasiums and other common areas, often sleeping in bunks stacked 3 high. Prison doctors conduct the examination in shower cells or in makeshift offices without running water, often in full view of other inmates. Subpoint B. California incarcerates more non-violent citizens than any other state. John McCarthy, MD Executive / Medical Director at Bly Valley Medical Clinic. Published by Bly Valley Medical Clinic, published 2000 September, Access November 9, 2013. Of the 2 million Americans incarcerated, 500,000 are there for non-violent drug offenses. California locks up a higher percentage of its citizens for drug use than any other state. Such incarceration rose from 1,778 in 1980 to 44,455 in 1999. Subpoint C. California is being forced to release its prisoners. Sam Stanton, reporter for the Sacramento Bee. Sacramento Bee, published October 16, 2013, Access, November 5, 2013. The court rejected the appeal without comment on the grounds that it lacked jurisdiction to handle the appeal. Attorneys for the inmates had argued in their court filings that the High Court already had decided to issue 2 years earlier in their favor. The Supreme Court decision to reject the case means the state must follow an order by a panel of 3 federal judges that California's inmate population be reduced to 135.5% of capacity by January 27. The inmate population in the state 34 adult prisons was 120,359 as of October 2nd, and the judge's orders require the number to be trimmed down to 112,164, according to the State Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Subpoint D. 58% of state's prisoners return to the prison within 3 years. Harriet McDonald, Executive Vice President to the Doe Foundation, published by Huffington Post, published May 31, 2013, Access November 5, 2013. California has the second highest rate of recidivism in the country. According to the Pew Center on the states, nearly 58% of the state's offenders are sent back to prison within 3 years of their release. According to the Pew Center, unless the cycle is broken with bold actions, unless people can be diverted from a lifetime of crime, repeatedly shuttling into and out of prison, California will remain stuck trying to jam too many inmates in too few prison cells. This pattern carries enormous costs, both human and financial. Contention 2. Legalizing recreational marijuana in California will save our prisons. Subpoint A. Legalizing marijuana will reduce the prison population. Elizabeth Arnold, senior at University of Pennsylvania, majoring in political science with a focus on American politics, published by NotEnoughGood.com, published November 28, 2012, Access November 9, 2013. Just to clarify, I'm not trying to say that all states should legalize marijuana. That will affect lots of things other than just prison population, and I don't know what the result will be. But I do think it's important to take note of the reduction in prisoners, and it's more importantly to study the results of this in the future. Will there be a reduction in crime, an increase? Will prison's population finally start trending down instead of up? Will the police force be able to further restrict the use of more dangerous drugs? Obviously, we can't know the answers to these questions right now, but they could grow to mean a lot in the future. If positive results come from the passage of these 2 initiatives, then maybe more states will follow. And maybe we can create a real lasting change in the composition of the prison population. You may not really think this applies to you, especially if you don't live in Washington or Colorado, but this seems to be the way the public opinion is shifting. Most states have had votes on some kind of marijuana legislation, though some of it failed. As you can see on the map, medical marijuana seems to be spreading quickly too. So it wouldn't be surprising if you were personally forced to vote on the issue soon. So when you assess your feelings, be sure to think about everything involved. I would never try to tell someone how they should vote, and I honestly don't even know if this is a good idea, but I do know it successfully decreases our prison population, and I think that's something we really do need to work towards. So at the end of the day, I hope you're all aware of all the potential ramifications of marijuana laws, not just the obvious one. Subpoint B. More than 40% of the prison population is for nonviolent drug charges. Laura Gallick, Policy Analyst for the Reason Foundation, reasonfoundation.org, September 4, 2013, Access November 4, 2013. The original intent of the three-strike law was to keep violent career criminals behind bars, but the law has been disproportionately used in sentencing to those convicted of nonviolent crime. Currently, second and third strike inmates account for roughly 32% of all prisoners, and more than 40% of these inmates were convicted of nonviolent drug or property crime. If we legalize recreational use of marijuana, the 40% that is in prison for possession or nonviolent drug charges will be released. I now stand open for cross-examination.
In contention 1 subpoint A, you said the Supreme Courts are working on reducing the prison population.
And subpoint C.
The subpoint C, yes. You said the Supreme Courts are reducing the prison population or working on it.
Correct.
So why do we need to legalize marijuana to keep people out of prison if the Supreme Court is already fixing the problem?
Because if we let the Supreme Court, we'll let other prisoners go when recreational marijuana has little effect on society.
Right. You talked about how 40% of the prison population is nonviolent.
Correct.
And then you said by legalizing marijuana, that would keep 40% out of the prisons?
Correct.
40% doesn't mean they all use pot. The 40% of non...
Questions, no
Sorry.
arguments.
Could the part of the 40% just be robbers and people who have stolen property?
It's a non-violent drug crime.
Isn't stealing property without violence a non-violent crime?
I don't understand how you can steal without being violent.
You just go into someone's house, take something, and leave, and don't hurt anyone. Can that be considered non-violent?
I consider it non-violent.
So then, would you say that all the 40% are definitely would be released, or would the legalizing marijuana for sure fix the 40%, or just some of the 40%?
It'll fix the 40%. Even my evidence that states that they were convicted for non-violent drug or property crime, not just non-violent crimes.
You said prisoners, in contention 1 subpoint D, you said 58% of prisoners return to prison within 3 years.
Correct.
Why does that matter to the charges, or what, to the debate?
If we don't legalize recreational marijuana, these prisoners will be kept sending back and back because of their use.